All right, it is 9 o'clock finally. On Monday morning, November 25, 2019, I call the Potter County Commissioners Court to order. Today we have David Engel from Chaparral Hills Baptist Church and for our invocation. So if you'll please stand and remain standing.
Our Father and our God, we praise your name this morning. God, we thank you for your presence. God, this morning we acknowledge the blessings within our lives as individuals, within our families, within our city, our county, are a testament to your hand working within us, through us, and around us. God, this morning, we ask that you would provide due wisdom to these men and women who you've placed in these leadership positions in our county. God, we can give them wisdom in looking at the needs and how to best address those needs in our county. God, give them wisdom in how to best use the resources available. God, we ask that we use the words that are said today to continue to point our county in the direction you desire for it to go. God, I ask you to continue blessing and protection over these men and women, over their families, over those who are present this morning. God, this morning, would you be glorified by the things that take place within this room? We pray this in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to tell you a little story about the other night, Thursday night at the banquet for the appreciation dinner. We had a little bomb scare. I don't know if you know if you knew that or not, but actually, it was a photo bomb. So, Brandon, can you put that up on the screen?
Should be coming up.
You're welcome. I thought everyone would not get a kick out of that. We do not allow bombing in our dinners. I like the look on Mercy's face.
I told you that was coming.
All right, thanks, Brandon.
Take it down, Brandon.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is recognition of minutes from the November 12 Commissioners Court meeting and November 14 special meeting. So recognized. Number 2, budget amendments to consider and act on budget amendments from fiscal year 2018 to 2019. Here we have 3 pages here, 3, 4. These are just end of the year thing, right?
This is final.
Anybody have any questions?
Move to approve budget amendments as presented.
The motion in the second, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you. 3, budget vouchers to consider and act on the approval of the payment of vouchers processed by the county auditor's office for the period of November 6 to November 20, 2019. Check numbers 188-382, 3188-563, and line transfers 1313 to 1323 in the amount of $3,238,892.66. Got a motion?
Move to approve the checks and wire transfer as stated by the county judge, amount of $3,230,233.
Second for discussion, I have 2 questions, Judge. Carry page 12 of 32, check number 188518, in the amount of $317.60, DEA overtime refund. Can you help me understand what that is?
It was just a duplicate payment, a duplicate.
Okay. And then page 19 of 32, looks like wire number 1320, line item, paper direct for barbecue Christmas holiday post. Can you help me understand what that is? $140.65. Came out of Randall, the district attorney's office.
pages?
Page 19 of 32. And they're all listed as 1320 since it's the wire. Paper direct is the line item. Okay. Yeah, if you'll just follow up, that's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Do you know, Randall, do you have any know
On what?
what that is, what that expenditure is? Do you know what the expenditure is?
On what?
What she was showing you?
I can't, I'm not, oh, here it is, right here, Randall, right here. Sorry. It's a barbecue Christmas holiday post. Or Barone, no, it's not barbecue, Barone.
Baroque.
Yeah.
Baroque Christmas holiday post.
Well, we're gonna be broken.
Don't have a clue.
Just a follow. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, I have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. Treasurer's report, to hear the monthly treasurer's report, anyone?
Morning. Okay, so this morning in A and B, we have, I'm just gonna give you general numbers on those, and I'll give you the end. 6.3 million in A and B, earning 1.92. Texas class, 6.9 million, earning 1.91. Tex pool, 418,000, with earning 1.66. Tex pool prime, 6.7 million, earning 1.87. So our total cash in general this morning is $20,468,931.31. And I wanted to mention that the investment committee met on Friday, and we met with the broker, the latest one that we brought to the court to have approved. And he did a presentation and kind of answered questions, was there for us for the whole committee to be a part of. And so we decided, the committee and I, that we will invest in broker CDs and, the first week of December. And we're going to begin with $5 million. We'll see when tax dollars start coming in and that sort of thing, that we will increase, but this will start our laddering so that we can, as things mature, we can reinvest and starting our ladder of investments.
And is this the first time we're doing this type of investment, Ian?
Yes,
Okay.
actually it is. It's a really good market right now. It's very secure, safe. This is where it's brokered CDs, and so the bank institutes will buy, and, it's under 250,000 for each increment, and so it will be FDIC insured, and, so we'll keep a close eye on it. That's it, and thank you. Yes, thank you.
Number 5, tiers 2, to receive and comment on report from tiers number 2 regarding its approval of a 10-year property tax rebate for the Tooten Travel Center located at 7909 East I-40. Andrew? How are you? Very good.
How are y'all?
Good.
Good morning. We're here today to discuss a new project that's being proposed for the East Gateway Tiers zone. It's for a Tooten Travel Center. It'll be the largest project that Tooten has done so far. It's a 26,000 square feet building located on 16.1 acres of land just on the eastern boundary of the tier zone along Lakeside and I-40. It'll feature a little over 11,000 of convenience store space, a Wendy's fast food restaurant, and the Switch restaurant as well. So a few fast food stores located within it. It's going to have the traditional fuel islands and 12 pumps, an RV fueling station with 2 fueling lanes, and 10 lanes of diesel located in the rear of the property. We'll also have over 120 spaces for semi-truck parking, 5 overnight RV spaces, and 97 automobile parking spots included in the project. Overall, they are proposing a minimum of $8 million to be invested in the site, but could be well exceeding that amount. They're still working on final bids and projections of what the project's going to cost overall. So the Tiers Board heard this item at their November 14th board meeting. We recommend a 10-year property tax rebate for the project due to the scope, as well as some additional public infrastructure that's going to be required. This is a 1,400-foot road that's required on the north side of the property. And they're proposing, as far as that 10-year rebate goes, years 1 through 5, they're proposing a 90% rebate, and then years 6 through 10 of a 50% rebate for the project. This is similar in some circumstances with the last rebate that was approved by the Tiers Board, which was 50% for the hotel project. The board is trying to limit, especially in the later years, as far as the rebates go, just due to the goals of the zone as far as infrastructure needs and additional public investment needed for the zone to succeed. They want to make sure they have additional funds coming in those later years in case projects are needed on the west side of the zone for that infrastructure. The agreement will also have some stipulations as far as when the building permit is required. Within 3 months of city council approval of the agreement, it is going to be on the city council agenda on December 3rd for consideration. And then once the building permit is issued, they will also need to try for a certificate of occupancy within 18 months of that project building permit being issued. This is to encourage, of course, the building does move forward on a good timeline to get up on tax rolls for the project. Greg Mitchell with Jamal Enterprises is also here today. If you have any specific questions about the project that I can't answer, and today we're here just for any feedback that I have for city council. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna add a couple more comments. I sit as chairwoman of this board, and this particular project obviously is very interesting because it does sit in that Tiers boundary. From a Potter County perspective, anything going in that footprint is on that new development, right? So the goal is $100 million. Should and when this comes onto the tax roll, this will put us at about $34 million roughly of that new development, right? So the board still is actively engaged in terms of big catalyst project. I personally believe these type of end caps start to really change the momentum. Patel is the other landowner that has really kind of done some things since we established the tier zone, which I think is about December of 2016, if I remember correctly. So Patel has put a couple of hotels on the tax roll. Mr. Mitchell, this will be the third project, and of course the lease and what they want to do with the Big Texan is the continuous dialogue. But this particular project is very interesting because it is the biggest footprint that Two Totem has ever done, right? And so what is different from Tiers 2 versus Tiers 1, we have been very methodical in terms of even when Mr. Patel comes to ask for incentives versus Mr. Mitchell or whoever it is down the road, right? So we are as consistent as we possibly can. Not every project is exactly the same. So when we're dealing with projects that are 8 million, 12 million, 15 million, you know, here's kind of the scope, which is the step down model that we have, versus we've got $30 to $40 million on the table. So if we get a project of that size, incentives may certainly need to look a little different to get that type of project in this footprint. So I don't know if that helps, but it's been a while since we've had really an incentive to come before the Commissioner's Court, so I wanted to give everybody
You
that.
indicated incentives possibly could be made a little bit different moving forward, so.
I just mean in terms of if we have a bigger project, right? This one right now, what you have on paper is 8 million. Mr. Mitchell has already communicated that they do expect it to even be more than that. They just have never done something this size, and I'll certainly let him speak for himself. Please correct me if I'm saying any of this incorrectly, but they've never done a project of this size. So I think it's very significant, A, that it's happening in Potter County, and then B, in a zone that we are definitely trying to get that new development there.
Just based on the scope of this project, the visibility of that many cars and trucks coming through that, definitely help the zone overall.
Yes, this tier was for a 30-year period.
2046 is
Involved in Tiers 1, we had longer periods of time. I'm wondering why the decision was on maybe 10 years.
That is mostly due to the other goals of this zone compared to downtown, which is all the infrastructure. They were proposing about 10 million in infrastructure needs for the zone. That was going to be funded by the tiers. Some of it the city was going to put up front and get reimbursed on the back end until development started to occur. So really, it's considering the time of these agreements and being able to collect that increment to pay off the debt or the investment. There's also a public athletic facility that we were aiming for this $100 million of new value that wasn't going to be rebated back. We wanted to fund debt service of a $15 million facility. So this one just has a lot of different goals as far as what it needs to use that money for. So we try to be careful as far as long-term agreements, higher percentages.
So does Tears get the money for the 30-year period?
Yes. It stays in there until the zone expires.
I'm all for the project. We need something that look nice on it. As you come in on I-40, I came in just yesterday. It's not the best entrance in the world. But anyway, yeah, I'm all for it. It's great.
35 full-time jobs immediate, or is that something over a period of, a 10-year period?
That is pretty much an immediate.
Yes, we will look up to minimum 7 to 8. Yeah. The restaurants, each restaurant requires 20 to 25 people, and we have 25 to 30. So it's 2 restaurants, and we have 25 to 30, maybe 40. And it's a travel center, it's not a storage. Some people have asked me if it's gonna be a Buc-ee's. The answer is no, it's not gonna be a Buc-ee's, but it's gonna be a 2 utility Buc-ee's. It's 2.5 to 3 times the largest store we've ever built. So it's a major undertaking, Tracy. We've been working on this for close to 5 years, specifically because textiles been a huge trying to figure out the markets. And we're negotiating with textiles and land that gets that.
I agree with Commissioner, I think that's something that's a win-win, require both for the city and the county as well. So, it certainly, opens the door for those that are traveling through this corridor, you know, so it's certainly not slowing down. So,
I don't think you can have any issues with this commission as far as opening this project. I know that we've known you for a long time, and it's not, I don't know of any project you started that ever worked out well. So this one should work out quite well.
We certainly work out.
Most of the time. Yeah, I think.
Okay, so you don't need to vote today, we have to wait until the city will vote. Okay, thank you.
We have to discuss it.
City's comments. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Number 6, insurance report, to recognize the insurance fund report. Kate, is there anything?
Just a couple of little housekeeping items. I just want to draw your attention. We've got, on 11/5, there's a September COBRA payment in the amount of $1,261.44. There was an error going through the bank, a very minimal error, 20-cent error that we'll see a correction on the next one. It will look kind of funny coming through on the next insurance report with that 20 cents. The other thing I wanted to draw your attention to is November the 14th of 19, there is an October and November United Concordia premium. You'll notice that that's 2 months, and that's because of, you know, our implementation and the change. We're in process now of going through and making all the corrections on all the different insurance billings, and so you'll see October and November come through together on all of our new insurance carriers, and we're working on those now, so we should start seeing those come through.
have we addressed, have we alleviated the concerns that Commissioner, you were sharing with us?
Yeah, this might be a good update. Kay and I met with John, and I know I'm going to say his last name.
Here, Martin?
Yes. And he is our vice president of trying to remember his title with Aetna.
All I am aware of is vice president.
Okay, all right. So he met with Kay and I in terms of plan design, specifically our ER options and our urgent care options, right? In terms of what we have available. So I would say it was a really healthy dialogue of things that might be able to get done in short order, hopefully even by the end of the year. It really opened discussions. And even though we sit under the city contract, Their plan design is obviously different, and where they go for services, even an urgent care service is very different than where we can go. So, we talked about options as their design under Northwest and what are other Northwest, ER facilities that maybe could also be altered for urgent care. And why that matters to me as an employee, to any of our employees, is their copays are different, right? The $30 versus the $300 type of copay. So our ability to be able to offer that in the plan, not only do we not want them in the ER because that's when we see these claims, but then they also don't want to be there because they have a smaller copay. So all that to say, I think it is healthy dialogue, hopefully expecting something by the end of the year, so.
And it could potentially double our urgent care, options.
As a matter of.
Which is amazing, so their employee have options.
As a matter of just curiosity, and this is a subset of different conversations, but it involves healthcare. And I know Ponce County is not heavily involved in that. The city was for a long time with the Cameron Hospital District Board. And we've seemingly been declining in the areas of specialization in respect to neurosurgery. And we don't have a burn center. So I'm not sure the qualifications in having one. And it's just going some conversations out we might be looking with the city, but that's just something as we grow, one of the, I think, things that we might want to look at.
Who is our representative that sits on the hospital district commission? I know we appoint, doesn't Potter County have an appointee on the hospital district board?
I'm not sure, county.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that might be an appropriate place for that type of dialogue. We need somebody.
That might be something you want to see. I did it one time when I was it was in the city. My memory's fading, but I did serve on that. But that's something we might want to think about. Look at.
But thank you to Kate for facilitating that dialogue with John and hoping to possibly double options for employees. That's amazing.
Okay, are you,
I'm
stay up for the,
I'll stay for the
wellness,
wellness
okay, number
committee.
7, the wellness committee to hear a report and recommendation from the wellness committee on employee wellness strategy and take any action necessary.
On November the 4th, we had a wellness committee meeting, in the Santa Fe building. 11 members were present, and then 3 members from Aetna and Holmes Murphy are there, and we discussed various wellness options. As you're aware, we were moving forward with the wellness strategy previously, and then when we changed insurance vendors, we kind of had to back burner it, and we'll have to modify it somewhat because of the change of insurance carriers. I do have Jason Newman here with Holmes Murphy, and he'll go over the wellness strategy with the commission.
Hi, everybody. How are you? I'm going to echo some of what Kate just said. You may recall back in April, we came through here with some options for the board just to approve for wellness strategies. So if you have your presentation in front of you, I'll just go to the first page there. A lot of this is going to be very similar to what we presented in April, but like Kate said, we have to sort of change up our approach because we moved from the TAC plan over to Aetna. And there were a few of those programs that were included in your TAC benefits at no cost, that they have now fallen off now that we've moved to Aetna. So we've had to kind of explore some logistics here, and you'll see at the bottom of that page that one thing Aetna has done is provided $25,000 in an allowance to be used specifically for wellness initiatives. So if you look at the next page there, these strategies are pretty much the same as what we got approved in April and discussed with you all. So I'm not going to go over all of those. They're in more detail in the next page, but I do want to point out one, number 5 here, Naturally Slim. It is a weight loss program that was included in your tax benefits. It's not on your Aetna plan. It's not built in the way it was before. We discussed it with the wellness committee, kind of came to the determination that while it's a good program, it's a little costly, it's too costly, frankly, and probably would not impact as many members as we would like. So we're still gonna look at including a weight loss program as a part of the overall wellness package, but naturally Slim is very likely not going to be the option that we choose. And then at the very bottom there, you see the employee participation number 7. This is probably going to be the biggest direct impact on employees because it requires them to, that doesn't require them, but there's an employee participation incentive for those 2 programs, the tobacco cessation and getting their annual physical. And I'll go into a little more detail on that on the next page. Those top 2 lines, first of all, the tobacco affidavit is really just that. It's the employee will have a form, they say, I am a tobacco user, I'm not a tobacco user. If they are not, then they will be given a $25 monthly incentive on the next plan year's monthly premium. So basically $25 off of what they would be paying on a monthly premium. If they are a tobacco user, they can still get that $25 incentive, but they would just have to go through a tobacco coaching program through Aetna, which they would see, you see there on that 3rd column, there's a cost to it. Aetna would really be running that and tracking it, making sure who's participating, who is not, and so they would be the owners of all that information.
What is that acronym on there, PEPM?
Per employee per month.
Okay, thank you.
The next one is the annual physical. It's just anyone who has their annual physical or completes a biometric screening will also receive $25 incentive towards their monthly premium next plan year. I'll talk a little bit more about the incentives in the next page, more specifics. Some of these other things that we discussed back in April have not changed. We talked about a health fair. We're targeting right now February, maybe March of 2020 to do that. Some education sessions with Veracity, and then maybe some educational sessions with department heads to help them better understand the benefits package and hopefully be able to communicate that to their employees as well. Okay, so some specifics on the next page about those incentives, the $25 incentives. There will be an earning period, so a window of time where those people have to complete the biometric screening or annual physical and then also do that tobacco affidavit. That earning period is starting January 1st, 2020 and ends July 31st, 2020. Someone in the wellness committee asked, well, okay, it's November, what if I just got my annual physical last week? And I'm not planning on getting another annual physical until November of next year. So basically, for the annual physical requirement, as long as you had it after October 1st of this year, we have those claims information, we have that claims information in the Aetna system, so we can go back and verify that that employee had that done. So they would get that credit too. But otherwise, the earning period is January 1st to July 31st of next year. The reward period just means that's when the incentives kick in. So that would be essentially the next plan year, which would be October 1st, 2020, and go the entirety of that plan year. So as long as you satisfy those 2 requirements, you'll have the $50 incentive taken off of your monthly premium for the entirety of that plan year, starting October 1st, 2020.
Okay, quick question, who keeps track of the administrative side of that?
Aetna is going to keep track of who's all participating.
Okay.
And then that's why you see a little bit of a window of time. July 31st is when the window ends, and then the incentives kick in on October 1st. That gives the HR department a little bit of time to make sure payroll is adjusted properly and everything is clear.
So it would be HR that's managing these wellness initiatives versus their monthly premium and what's taken out of their check?
Okay.
We'll work with Aetna and set premiums.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There is a note there at the bottom. This is something that you all approved back in April, but just to reaffirm that those tobacco cessation courses, if someone is a tobacco user and is going through that program, that coaching program, they will be able to use those, use work hours to complete the courses that are necessary. That's at the that's pending your supervisor or department head approval. Okay, so the next page is just what to expect going forward. We'll be working really close with the wellness committee to set up some team and individual exercises and activities throughout the year. Aetna will be sending out some wellness communications to HR that can be funneled out to employees. We're also looking at possibly doing some employee surveys to see what of these programs are working, which ones maybe aren't working so well, and get some ideas maybe from employees on things that they think might be helpful going forward. And we're really looking at a holistic wellness approach. It used to just be, when people would talk about wellness, they would talk about physical wellness and physical health. It's really been expanded the last few years to include mental health as well as financial well-being as well. One other thing I also want to point out is something to expect is, since you'll be incentivizing employees to get their annual physical, you should see an increase in preventive services claims. That might also cause you to see some increase in pharmacy claims. So you might have someone who's never had an annual physical in their life, and they go and they've got some kind of, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So they're prescribed a maintenance medication to control that. So you might see those claims numbers go up a little bit initially as well. But hopefully that will mean long-term health, and we won't see so many instances of larger claims like heart disease, heart attacks, strokes down the line, because we're maintaining those chronic conditions. And so next steps. For the wellness committee, they're really going to be the ones that are driving the promotion and the management of the budget, that $25,000 wellness allowance. The wellness committee will really be running that. We will meet with them and work closely with them all throughout the year on all these initiatives though. Aetna, like I mentioned, will be handling all of the housing of the data and keeping track of who's participating and who isn't. And then as we go along, and we start to get results of these programs, we'll also be coming to you all to share those with you. And you might see at the top there, it might say, I think it's on your copy, that it's the Insurance Advisory Committee. It's actually the Wellness Committee. Yeah, just a correction there, sorry about that.
And then from a budget perspective, where are these wellness dollars allocated in our budget, or are they, right?
From my understanding, they're not really allocated. It's an allowance that will be reimbursed. So the dollars that we spend for wellness activities will just be reimbursed back to the county from that.
With that $25,000 that they allow?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions?
The only other question I have, I know this is a topic we've had for many, many years about wellness initiatives, and we've had several different committees. It would be helpful to know who is on the wellness committee, maybe just you don't have to do that now, but just a follow-up email of who's on that. And then it would also be helpful to somehow tie some of these to some claims, right? So I know that we're really just trying to get our hands around the framework, but if we are addressing our top 2 or 3 claims, which I'm imagining is maybe some chronic conditions, which is why we're looking at preventative type of screenings. Just so we know alignment and we know what we're looking at for the next plan year, right? And we have some type of baseline of, is it working? Do we need to make changes? Other than it's the right thing to do, of course, but we're watching that claim management piece. That would be helpful.
Yeah, we can include that on, when we start really talking about the results of some of these programs.
Yeah.
We can tie it into, all right, how is it financially impacting your claims, that kind of thing. Yeah, so we can tie all that together, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, number 8, tech share, to consider and act upon the 2020 tech share prosecutor resource sharing addendum. That is not carried, is Mr. Sims. Okay, we're gonna let. Okay.
If
gotten the 2020 resource sharing addendum, which is actually our contract with TechShare that goes out to all the counties that are under the TechShare program. And just a reminder about those is Cameron County, they've got 260,000. Dallas has got nearly 3 million, 90,000 short of 3 million invested. Midland's got 440,000 invested. Tarrant County's the big dog, and that's where the original base from this program, it all started. They've got 39,000 short of 5 million. Travis County's got 1.1 million. We've got 276,000, and it's totals all up to 32,000 short of $2 million. The TechShare prosecutor addendum is our contract. The work plan comes with that. And then in attachment A, the attachment B is by line item what they plan to achieve in 2020. And then we've got the required criminal justice information. It's about, to add about the requirements of what all you have to do to maintain the ability to do this. So the invoice for this year is $36,202.
And Carrie, when we allocate in our budget, I know this is not new anymore, but many years ago when it was new, kind of year 1, year 2, we had an amount in there and we estimated. Is this appropriate for what's in our budget now, what we estimated? What do we have in there, that line item? I don't know if it's 40,000 or 50 or.
It's actually split between county attorney and district attorney, and I believe they each have about 24,000.
Okay.
There may be some smaller softwares.
Okay.
I move we approve the 2020 TechShare prosecutor resource sharing addendum. And approve this is an annual payment. This year's annual payment of $36,202.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand.
Randall, if I may, along the same lines, I know that Jason presented to the court about a $36,000 expenditure for the magistration part of TechShare. Is there an update on that? I don't know if he's working with IT. It was about $36,000. It was a new implementation before the end of the year.
That is for the textration, magistration program
Right.
that we're working on.
Uh-huh.
And they were here the Wednesday and Thursday last week. They did a demonstration of that. I think by all accounts, nearly everybody was quite amazed by it. It will take things from a law enforcement agency at the scene can fill out a report that will be on the magistration program that kind of directly pre-booked the suspect. And then when it gets there, that'll take less time. Then from there, for the magistration start, that's what we in there, the P3s will be in there. And a bunch of this stuff, they're manually having to put in. Well, and there's no, if we don't have a charge file, and they take somebody out there, there's really got a black hole where there's no place to put anything. Does that make sense? And we'd be trying to build up on the magistration process. So what this does is gives us the filler to that hole. We've got a place to put stuff in this magistration program that right now when we arrest someone and they're a really bad person, we try to scramble to get information together, as agencies do, to get the magistration, we're having to do it all paperwork electronically, and then there's no historical value to that once it's done. With this program, it's be there for the next time I come back in. If I'm a repeat offender, all that other stuff will already be there. And so from the point we go live, we're not gonna, it would be ridiculously stupid for us to try to add data from the past, because it would be nonstop. So from when we go live, there's gonna be a historical place for all of that to go, that the police department can put in what they know, we can put in what we know, and then the JPs have got things to look at in order to, decide what the bond ought to be, what's a proper bond. So that's pretty much on that program, but it's gonna save the sheriff's department a bunch of typing. It's gonna save us that same thing because it's entered once and there's really not gonna be any repeat entry. Some of that is also relying on how much Spillman and Odyssey will be willing to help us. They, I think, may be willing to give us some data dumps. I'm not sure whether they're gonna let us, and Odyssey is not in the past allowed us to write back to you. And that means you gotta run another program to fill that sometime.
So do you just, my only question is, do you still expect it live by the end of the year? I know this was about a $36,000. They said, when Jason came to address the court, he said, this won't cost you more in the plan, but let us spend this, roughly $37,000 to fill this hole. Is that still by the end of the year, the plan?
Actually, the magistration program is not the cost.
It's the implementation.
It is the operations of implementing.
Right.
Is what the cost is. We already had magistration program. We didn't put it in there when we first started because we didn't have any of these other agencies on where they wanted to be, so we could tie into them. Now we're tying into them. The judges will be able to use it. It's going to be a tool that will make all our agencies that meet their tasks and we can communicate.
But it'll be done by the end of the year still is my question. Like, is the plan still, that's the timeline?
Depends on,
Okay.
we would love to have that happen. Depends on the cooperation we get from the other two agencies.
Okay, so maybe if Jason could just follow up, he committed to a follow-up for the court since that was a pretty, strong
And
implementation.
the other thing is, we're not working on the police department right now because they're implementing a new program in February. So there's no reason for us to get them into the system and then have to turn around and rewrite a bunch of stuff when they change their system. So we'll be working on that in February. We'll be talking to them. They know what it's about. They were also at the meeting and the idea of being able to enter that into the system in the field. Right now, they're doing that and then printing a PDF and giving it to them.
Okay, yeah, if you just keep us updated. It's just that was an expenditure along the tech share line, so I wanted to make sure we saw that all the way through. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Do I need to sign this? You give it to Julie, and then you get it?
Perfect.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. All right, number 9, fleet gas cards to consider an action on transferring to WEX fleet cards to allow integration of information with our enterprise lease system program. Sorry, I just put words in.
Right now, we use like 50 cars, and folks at Enterprise have asked to consider moving to this card because it does allow them to track knowledge and other items to help us manage our fleet better. On this handout, you do see there are a few companies that give us the 5 cent rebate. On Voyager card, you get 5% rebate on all purchases, so we would be getting the benefit of tracking current deliveries about $8,000 in rebates on fuel purchases. It's kind of a hard decision to make.
Lose $10,000 in
Rebates, yes.
will be beyond our,
cents on purchases made at Phillips, 66, Conco, and 76 stores. And a few of the, well, quite a few of the stores around town, the stations do, they're filled with these three, the majority do not, that we're utilizing. It is, you have, better tracking benefits on one side, which includes a more cash on the other.
But Carrie, the fuel expense has gone up astronomical, is that fair to say? I mean, I worry that that really keeps climbing, and unless we get our hands around why, I mean, I understand why you're bringing it to the core, because we get the ability to at least start to ask that question and understand that a little more.
Well, this tax year was almost $450,000 on fuel, so it is a huge expense to the county.
It's probably.
How would these new reports be used?
If we get correct odometer readings, which, with these leased vehicles, we will be able to now, the current non-leased vehicles, I'm not sure. But we can check miles per gallon and just have a better annual usage report.
These cars have an interest rate on them? No interest rates?
What percent of our fleet is leased?
I believe we have a total of 24 out of 80 vehicles.
That's our fleet, but we're paying gas for some private vehicles.
A few, yes, 3.
I don't know how you keep doing it. It's private. So even the ones that aren't leased through Enterprise would have this car, everyone would have this car. $8,000.
Carrie, do you think it's a good deal?
If it's your intention to eventually go with a full leased fleet, yes, I do. Say right now, we have a limited number of leased vehicles out, probably doing 10.
Could we try it and then go back to the old way if we don't like it? Can we do that?
Good.
Obviously, we can.
Could you put it on hold until we get more vehicles on the lease?
25%.
What do the departments think about the lease versus?
Does anybody have any pros and cons about it? Anything they hate, anything you love? Anybody? Not all at the same
Yeah, I
time.
would imagine if you're a department that only got the leftovers, right, before they went to the auction, then you love it, because you get a newer vehicle, would be my interpretation of it. But if you're a department that your fleet gets rotated out annually, it may be a wash, because you get new fleet anyway, but that's my own, would you agree, Carrie?
I would.
Yeah, okay.
But you still rely on the person entering in the correct mileage or the correct, reading. That's
the problem.
That's a problem, because a lot of times they'll mix up the numbers or whatever when they're entered in. But our mechanic, they keep track of our fleet, the mileage and all that stuff, pretty good.
Carrie, is it taken in all the same places that we use now?
I believe so, yes. So we just want to do this.
Maintenance, county attorney's office.
So far, these vehicles work fine for us. Most of our vehicles are leased. So we've been happy with it. We have, to my knowledge, nothing's percolated up to me yet that has presented any problems. So we've been happy with it.
We noticed no difference than before. We have vehicles to drive, we have vehicles. There's, our guys will be happy. far as the lease goes, we all get gas down at Cuban Toad, because it's just close, you know, so if we wouldn't have discount there. My only concern is that my guys would say, well, we need to drive a little further, you know, to go get this discount, but we could just tell them, don't do that.
The only problem we have with our lease is on the four-wheel drive, it doesn't have a four-wheel load. So if you get caught in the sand on fire or something, it won't pull. You might be stuck there because the four-wheel load will really get you around in the fires and out in the sandy spots. And they're not coming with four load.
You can order what you want.
We should, so I think that we need to look at that. Yeah, so we need to really, just understand, make sure.
You want me to throw something on this? Well, we stay with our current plan. Yeah, I relook at it. $8,000 man.
Okay. Commissioner, just so I'm following your motion, it's to stay with what we have today, not move to this gas card, is that correct?
Is that your motion?
That is.
I need a second.
I'll say,
I'll be putting that, time frame on that, I was just saying, like
Yeah, I think that's a good question, Commissioner, because we're talking about $500,000 of gas expenditures. So if we keep it as it is today, when we enter budget next year, we have no way to have a healthy dialogue around that. Right? So if we're gonna look at other preventative measures or other ways to dialogue around, why is that happening? Is that all justifiable? That's perfectly fine, but, it's just gonna keep growing, right, in the absence of something.
I'll move to amend my motion, that we review this at budget time.
Okay.
second.
Okay, have a motion, a second, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Okay, number 10, tax roll to consider an act on approval of the Rotterdam tax roll. Oh, sorry.
We found the spender of $140. It was Jan for the invitations to the Tree of Angels.
I got you.
That's what that is.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a
We knew it would be
project that's
something.
due every year.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, number 10, tax roll to consider an act on the approval of the Rotterdam tax roll for 2019. This is something we do every year, it's just the tax levy and the tax roll. Need to speak on that, Sherry? Any questions? Okay.
I've already received my bill.
I've already paid mine.
Well, thank you.
I wrote back the rest of the year.
Move we approve the, Clark County tax roll for 2019 tax.
And a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. Thank you, Sherry. Number 11, IT update, we have reported current status of IT project. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
I think we're gonna use today, just updates on the various projects that we have in addition to the business. So, excuse me, the in-person security training, that I've been working on should be complete by next commissioner's court. So if you know anybody who hasn't participated, we'll love to get you set up.
Yeah.
And that means the online training, I'll start rolling that out next week. Get that going.
can you help explain what that means for those departments in the room, the online training, what is that?
Sure, so the online training is something that should be ongoing. It's, the in-person security training has to be scheduled. People have to take time out to all get together. The online security training is, it's licensing that the county purchased. And it's kind of at the user's own pace. Most of these modules are very, very short. They're end-user focused. They don't, you know, they're not good if they're talking. It should be very easily understandable by end users. Some of these modules are as short as a minute. The longest module, and I think there's only one or two like this, is 45 minutes. So user doesn't have to take all of the modules, but this will also be used for ongoing training when we start with the phishing tests. So when a user fails a phishing test, well, they probably need to go back and take some more training.
Okay, thank you.
You asked about the Windows 10 notebooks encrypting. We should be done with that by next Commissioner's Court as well. And then all of the new machines that are going out, all the new workstations are Windows 10, and all of those are being encrypted by default. Everything. I've been working on policies that the county is in really desperate need of. That includes an IT security policy. The only policy related to IT that I could find was a software policy from the 90s. And so I've been working on a draft for an IT security policy, and I'll bring that up here. Disaster management policy, incident management policy, et cetera, et cetera. And so what some of these policies do is they help everyone understand what happens in a certain event or how IT processes work. So as an example, Millennium Elections, my understanding is she was really the only department that was kind of prepared to function during the ransomware outage, because she kind of had her own plan to go on. And so because of the way the county is designed, we'll have an overarching IT disaster management plan, and then I'll get with the department heads because they need individuals.
And Midland County provided an example for us to work from as a part of our disaster recovery process, so I think it's a really good example. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Also on the on those policies and on security, I've met with Malin to kind of talk about, you know, she has obviously security concerns that she has to keep up with for elections, and that'll be ongoing meetings with her. Also on the VxRail, which you have referred to as the backup server, that is still syncing. And I kind of wanted to explain a little bit about that process. So if you've ever copied a lot of files on a Windows machine, an external drive, to another device, the time that it takes varies, and Windows lies about it. Well, you're going to be done in 5 minutes, and then that, when you look again, it's going to be 30 minutes, and then it's going to be 2 minutes. So that's kind of what we're up against. All of the nodes are functioning. We have 2 failures. We got with the vendor, those were resolved. So we're still moving forward on that. And I think that's all I have.
Just a couple quick, the Spillman backup process. Last note I have is still waiting on Spillman.
Yes, and I had our developer reach out to them. Their expected turnaround time for that is probably January, because they're having to write programs to interface with the data. We are waiting on them.
Okay, I know that's something, Sheriff, you've been waiting on for a long time, so that's why I put that on my list. And then, I don't know, maybe this is appropriate to start maybe talking about possibly this dual authentication. Just so the court is aware maybe what's coming into 2020, that's the last item I have.
Sure, so as part of the draft security policy, and this is something Bloom has in place as well, they utilize what's called multi-factor or 2-factor authentication. What that means is it's something you know and something you have. As an example, all of our staff is required to use two-factor authentication when they log into any of our systems. So something you know would be the password that you have. Something you have would be your phone. So all of my staff, if any of their passwords for the things that we access are lost, you still have to have their phone to get in. And that is something that can really, really help. Would not have helped in the ransomware, would not have helped in that. It helps with breaches. And that's something, if any of you bank with Amarillo National Bank and log in to their website, you'll notice that they have implemented that, I think earlier this year as well. When you log in, they're going to send you multi-factor authentication to make sure it's you.
So that, along in the same spirit of password requirements, might change in terms of a countywide policy. So I mean, I think all of that is to be expected as we beef up our security, but some of that, I think, is kind of tucked into that disaster recovery plan. So just so we know, some of that is getting ready to change into 2020.
And something else along those lines, using that same program, for those of you who have attended my training, especially like the department heads, we can actually, the help desk, the IT help desk can actually authenticate you or vice versa with this application. So in other words, if Commissioner Murguia calls up the IT department, hey, I'm at the airport, I'm in a hurry up, I need a password reset, we know what she sounds like, but we could actually send her a push, a multi-factor push. And if she doesn't respond, it's not her, and vice versa. If Bob from IT calls commissioner or judge, hey, can you give me your credentials, I need to get onto your machine? You say, sure, Bob in IT, send me that security push. And if Bob can't do that, it's not Bob.
And it's just something that comes to your phone and you hit accept, like it's me, the person. It's just another way to authenticate that it's you and someone's not trying to get, into your email or any of your county files. So it's definitely the trend.
Addresses social engineering, which is very effective.
That push all of us out of this old school thing.
That's it, we're gonna take to the next item.
Okay. All right, number 12, county courthouse rewiring project. Consider an act upon the rewiring of the county court's network and phones. Work to be performed by Premier Alarm Solutions, total amount of $14,907.66. Funds to be determined. Okay.
I have good news.
Okay.
I have good news.
You had a garage sale this weekend.
Probably better than that.
Okay.
So the county had ordered a lot of replacement network switches between 1 and 2 years ago that have been sitting in the basement. That's one of the projects we've been proactively working on, is getting those things replaced. When they did the count for these switches, they just did a blanket count and ordered the same thing, which is a 48 port switch. That means you can plug 48 devices into it. Not every place needs those, like some of these remote sites. Additionally, some of those remote sites are actually using new enough switches that don't have to replace. What all this means is we should have a spare switch to cover that, which is half the cost. How's that for growth?
That's better, but still, where's it coming
That's
from?
half the price.
Maybe equipment repair and replace account, Judge. I think that's probably the account.
Carrie's already shaking her hand.
So, we don't have an answer for where it comes from. This is just a problem that the county has in this building, so we wanted to give you an option. We're not saying it has to be done this minute, but what we would like to do is use this as a proof of concept that, hey, we can wire this building in a way that the historical committee would be okay with minimal penetrations, using a lot of raceway, exterior covers and things like that. And so this is kind of a proof of concept that we can start with this department, or one department at a time, because everyone's different, and it can take care of that wireless problem. So Justin's here from Premier Alarm, if anyone has any questions specifically.
And one more comment on this. Sorry, this is just moving this ahead. I wanted to make the court aware of this. I still have to finish the proposal and submit that to the Texas Historical Commission. Been working with Nick a lot on this project, trying to make sure it's put together in such a way that it's going to go through.
So it's not something we're asking for funds today, it's, here it is. Yes, ma'am.
Did you wanna describe the project, kind of what you'll be doing?
It's all adhesive raceway, so it'll be, discreet. Once it's in the room, you'll never really notice it kind of thing. We are going to be using some of the cabling that was in place for the wireless equipment. We are going to use that wire to feed off of, put a switch that will hopefully be provided into that island. Our first part is the county clerk's office and that island. When you walk in, to put all the cabling in there, run the raceway out to each individual location, there will be surface mounted boxes instead of an outlet that's in the wall. And that's where the people would plug their phones or computers into. And we're really hopeful, we feel like it will fix the lagging phone issue.
What's the timeline on that?
That should only take us 2 days. Yes, ma'am.
And you, because I don't have appreciation for this type of work, you'll do it in a way that we don't have we've heard all kinds of proposals, just to give you a baseline, right? You're not gonna have cords running through the top and wires everywhere.
Oh man,
Okay.
they'll all be hidden behind wide raceway.
Okay, and what is wide raceway, just because I don't know?
That's that, it's adhesive, cord concealer. I'm trying to look around.
It's similar to the chair rail molding going around the room, except for it's plastic. So it's the same width and the wire is hidden inside of that. So you can get all different wires, all different sizes. The Santa Fe building is full of it. There are no plastic channels, that's what it is. So it's just aesthetically looks a lot nicer than a cable dangling down the wall. So it'll be similar to that, and we can get any color to match the cuts for that.
You can do all that within a couple of days.
Oh, yes, sir.
That department.
Yeah, for the county clerk's office.
That's from the north side of Julie's office, which is currently pseudo cable. It's wireless. It's hard to explain. I'll be happy to try.
And Julie, your department is still having the issues that it had, but we've been talking about this at least 5 years, if not more at this point, right? It's still having the same issues? Okay.
They leave it.
Okay. Well, Judge, if you're ready for a motion, I'm happy to
Go
make
right
one.
ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the rewiring of the county clerk's office. Work to be performed by Premier Alarm Solutions in the amount of $14,957.66.
It's gonna be approximately, I can.
Yes, I'm gonna state that in my motion, Tony.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
So the funds as stated in my motion, accounts to come, half of it to come from the network switch credit, half to come from the equipment repair and replace account.
Any motion, second?
Thank you.
All in favor, Richard? Thank you, guys. All right, number 13, fire station number 1 update, here and update, discussion of fire station number 1. Hey, Chief, did you bring your tablet?
Not today.
No.
The only update we have is they're doing some additional dirt work on the slab. When they got to that point, they realized it wasn't high enough, due to flooding concerns that were pointed out in the initial meeting, so they changed that. And at this point, there's really nothing to see or anything more to do out there, so they're just working on outlining the building, the driveways, parking lots, and that stuff.
So I heard they made a $22,000 mistake on the survey, is that what we're talking about, on the lay of the land?
The elevation mistake, Judge?
I have not heard that. I heard there was a $12,000 miscalculation in the depth of the pad. And,
I heard it's 22.
okay.
So 12, either way, we're not responsible for that, right? And that, who's
There's
responsible?
changes go on all the time, and that's the thing, is this is not necessarily changing the bottom line of anything. There's things that we change throughout the course of the construction, there's things that are credited throughout the course of construction. As far as I know, we're not responsible for that.
Okay, good. We all have a printout here of some of the expenditures so far, or what's on what we used to call the brush road.
Okay.
So, one of them, jumped out, $4,000 for a ice machine.
Yeah, it's a fairly cheap one.
That's a cheap one?
Yeah.
Really?
We're using the smaller ones, the industrial size ones are more expensive.
But this is in an unmanned, building. Why would you need that much? I'm just asking. That seemed a little elaborate to me. $4,000.
We have a very large ice machine in our Central Park station. We were donated a very large ice machine for Station 6. We have an ice machine at Station 3. Basically, when these guys go out on call, they run into the station, grab a cooler with some water, put some ice in it, take it on scene. When our rehab unit comes out, they have multiple coolers and buckets of ice that they bring with them. We have chairs that basically we put plastic bags of ice in the chairs, sit people down, and cover their arms in ice water. It keeps them from overheating. It keeps heat stroke tendencies down. We generally waste a lot of ice on fires. We will take bags of ice out. We put coolers everywhere. In fact, some of these new trucks, the Wildland trucks, we're looking at mounting coolers on the trucks when we buy them, just because dehydration is such an issue. So I have basically put an ice station in every station I can fit one. This one is not the huge stand-up one like we have at Station 5. We have one at Station 5 that you can fill, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 coolers out of it. The ones that we're putting in the other stations are big enough that you can fill maybe 1 or 2.
Okay, no, that just jumped out.
Yeah, the easy way to say that is $4,000 is a lot cheaper than one ambulance ride for somebody with a heat stroke issue. So it's one of the things that we do is we're trying to keep the air conditioning in the apparatus as part of our safety features, and we try to make sure that everybody brings water and ice with them on fire.
And Judge, I don't sit on this committee, so I don't know the detail, but kind of in that same spirit, because it is an unmanned station, you know, what does catch my eye is 14,000 on the office furniture, about 8,000 on the furniture, detail recliners, end tables, kitchen tables. So I do recognize these are volunteers, and so we need to provide an environment for them to be away from their families. So I do recognize that. And I'm so thankful, because I can't imagine where we would be as a county without our volunteers. So there is always a little bit of a dance, right? And so we have to be accountable for the taxpayers. I know we got quite a few questions after our last opening about even some of the equipment that was in there. So I don't serve on this committee. I'll leave this to those of you that do on this court, but I just want to call that out as well.
It's all good. It's all good. Is there anything else anybody has? Anybody?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Next time, bring your tablet, okay?
Will.
Number 14, security officers to consider a request from the Potter County Attorney to staff 2 non-paid law enforcement officers for security in CPS court and other duties as needed. Scott, thank you.
The reason we're here, that I'm here talking to you about this is because these positions have to be bonded. Otherwise, we have enough investigators to cover everything except basically being the bailiffs in CPS court. We've managed to locate a couple of folks who are willing to help us out by serving as basically reserve officers in our department, but they'll provide security in CPS court. We've had some issues arise over the last year, and to be candid, we're a little worried about our own lawyer over there. People who wind up in CPS court are usually not very happy about it, and they are certainly not very happy with anyone who represents CPS. So in order to help maintain some security in that court, we are going to try to put these folks over here. We have to bond them.
What's the background of the security people?
Do what?
What's their background?
There, one of them is a city police officer, or was a city police officer in Porter, I wanna say. The other one, I'm not sure. They're both law enforcement officers, so both we would carry their commission. But I think they're probably looking for law enforcement work, so we would carry those positions, and it would have to be somebody who was carrying a T-Cole commission.
So they would volunteer their services, but we would take on their certifications if you
That's
requested.
correct, our office would carry
I know that was a request during the budget year that we really couldn't fill, and I know we thought maybe the constables might be able to help, so I think it's a good call out if there's an opportunity to do something.
And it gives
We
people an
appreciate that.
opportunity to be working in law enforcement while they're looking for a full-time position. It works essentially like an internship.
Yeah. I appreciate you doing
But we
that. So do you need approval?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I need a motion.
Move to approve the request from Bonnie County Attorney to staff 2 non-paid law enforcement officers for security and CPS court and other police and
Second.
A motion and a second on the paper, Virginia.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you. Number 15, employee appreciation to consider an act upon expenditure of funds to assist with food for the benefit of the county employee annual Christmas dinner being held December 12, 2019. Expenditure not to exceed $200.
So this was just an idea, I mean, so right now, the annual county employee Christmas dinner, Sandra collects $10 from each department head or elected official. And so with that, I had contacted Carrie in reference to the employee appreciation, which is what we use for our dinner that we had last week without photo bombs. And, so I was just curious if we could actually just buy some dressing and some potatoes and gravy. That's just something that we normally lack at this particular dinner. And I don't know if it's well, it's hard to keep warm. And it's, a lot of people aren't good dressing makers, I don't know. And from what I hear, but, so anyways, that was just something if y'all, and it would benefit the employees, and so that's what we were just trying to do, is have a little bit more food at this particular dinner than we have in the past.
And are you
to
thinking-
encourage attendance.
Yeah. Are you thinking it would come from that employee appreciation account line item?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's enough in there to cover it? Okay.
Yes, that's what I spoke to Carrie about.
This is the one, this is an important one, but this is the one where we buy the presents for the CPS kids. And this year we have 2 choirs coming to sing. We have Paladura coming to sing, also Capital is coming to sing at this luncheon. So this is important. It's important for the employees and it's important for the CPS kids that we sponsor. So I think it's a good idea.
I move to approve the expenditure of up to $200 for the employee appreciation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you. Number 16, jury plan. To consider an act upon approving the amended jury selection plan as proposed by the district court judges in Fort County, Texas. Carly, do you want to speak to this, or do you have anything to add?
It's basically the same thing that y'all signed, and the judges signed back in April and was approved in Commissioner's Court in June. It's just that we kind of spelled out with the judges with the Code of Criminal Procedures, the authority to do this.
Carly, I do have a follow-up question. I think part of that is maybe the new technology that you launched, because I did get something in the mail that said you're a potential juror.
Me too.
So I put my devil's advocate hat on and said, well, maybe I don't want to be, right? So, but I went online and filled out my little questionnaire to see if I was an eligible juror. Would you help me understand what happens if people don't fill that out? Because I'll put my kind of devil's advocate of, I don't want people to call me, I have to get out of work to do that, right? And then what happens when someone fills out that online form?
So when we send out the pre-qualification
Yes.
card, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
So if they don't answer the pre-qualification, we'll go back through the list, usually like 1,000 people or so, because we send them out so regularly. If they don't fill them out, we send them another one. And then if they don't fill out that one, we'll catch them with a letter. And then we've got plans with the judge, to maybe start doing FTAs failure to appears at a later time, but it's a failure to response. So we're having to figure out how to word it different and what to do there.
Okay.
If they go online and fill it out, either over the phone or online, then if you supply a valid email or a phone number, you will get a text or an email saying that this is your hearing space, please don't forget.
As opposed to the letter in the mail?
Now,
Like you had to call in, or I think, they don't have to call in now, right? They'll be getting when they get their summons.
Right.
Then you're gonna get a text or an email saying you either have to appear or, like I got one the other day saying that my service was not needed.
Yeah, if you never send out, if you never pre-qualify, then that's when we send you a pre-qualification or a letter. Once you pre-qualify, you automatically are gonna get a summons.
Okay.
Automatically, so we
About
know
2
that
days, you can just expect a summons.
Okay.
Why do you continue to send them out to people who are older, you don't have to appear?
But they have to,
If they're claiming their exemption,
If you do it once, why would you continue to send them?
after we had our meltdown, it threw everybody back in. It almost like reconstitute, it wiped everything out, is what happened, so.
I sent mine back,
You did?
my exemption, so.
Yes.
Hopefully I don't get it.
What's your exemption? What's your exemption, sir?
I have something with DOB.
I can't spell that.
So when they get a summons, will that still come in the mail or that's coming via email?
it's a postcard that you'll get in the mail.
Okay. Well, I know it's kind of new, it's new
Right, and
technology,
it's
so.
all still, we're still trying to get all the bugs worked out.
Okay, well, I mean, people stop us for all kinds of things, I'm sure mostly the judge, and so sometimes we have to say, well, you really need to call so-and-so, but here's what I know, right?
Alright, okay, and I would love, if you have any other questions or ways how the process works, just stop by the office.
I have people call me all the time and say, do I have to go? I say, nah. I'm kidding. I tell them all the answers, although I did not answer my questionnaire the last time I got one, just the other day, I apologize, I just forgot. I just got busy.
And that's another reason why we're doing this amended, because they're not answering all the questions. And it's causing delays upstairs when they get to the courtroom with the prosecutors and the defense attorneys having to take time out of their work hour to, get all these questions answered that they didn't fill in. And so they're gonna be doing that downstairs. Not all of them do that. I mean, a lot of them, for the most part, will answer the questions, and we know the ones that don't, then we just give them the form and say, please fill this out. It'll just help speed things up when you get upstairs.
Exactly.
And if they don't want to, which they have the other day, they didn't want to, then, the judge will make them do it when they get upstairs, so.
Thank you.
All right, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a so moved in a second. I need a, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. All right, number 17, transfer of inventory to transfer a 2010 Freightliner truck cab and chassis to Potter County Sheriff's Department inventory removed from Potter County Road and Bridge inventory. Pro patch portion of this vehicle will be removed from chassis and sent to auction. Good morning.
We just wanted to say thank you for the support out there on the bridge and equipment that we get. It means a lot to us. Thank Richard for the help on the loader tonight. As we speak, the tow patch has been taken off the chassis. I'm going to get it cleaned up. Probably early next week, send it out. I'll share it.
Cool. All right, thank you so much. I guess we need a motion now.
I make a motion to approve the transfer of the 2010 Freightliner truck cab and chassis to Potter County Sheriff's Department.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Employee items to consider and act on the following employment items. Elections, the pay scale increase for Sandra Hill, as well as the increase of hours worked, now 20 hours per week. And in maintenance and facilities, employment of Paul Escoto as custodian 1 is replacement for Carmen Salas, effective November 24, 2019. Motion of those.
Nobody approved the open items as presented.
Motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Carter County projects, Nicholas, you got anything to talk to us about?
I probably should, because I walked in late. Sorry for my tardiness and my appearance, I kind of forgot about. So, but I put those on in here.
Okay, we're glad you put it.
The, District Court project, we're moving into the design development phase, so it'll be a little more detailed. Moving out of the schematic design, so now it's kind of becoming more of a tangible project. They're gonna start meeting with, individual departments talking about, do you have specific office needs, office furniture? They're talking more with me about, mechanical, electrical, plumbing needs, things like that. So it's getting more real, okay? So after the first of the year, they're gonna start digging up this parking lot over here and doing the utility relocation. They've been working with the city back and forth, so you're gonna see what looks like construction. The building won't start going up for some time, but they're gonna start tearing it up and moving the water lines over to one side and the sewer lines over to the other, so we're gonna have construction pretty soon, so I think that's exciting. The only other thing that I've got and we're gonna start working on is, I don't know how long the lights have been out in the Santa Fe parking lot, probably one at a time over the last few years, but we're gonna start replacing those with LED lights, so that it's not dark. Parking lot anymore. The time change really highlighted that, so.
Yeah, it's dark at 5:15 now.
Since that parking lot is gonna be pulled up, if you will, you know, we had the annual contract with that third party for the parking. I know that ended, we might give them a heads up, if they're banking on those parking spots, if you will, they will not be available right for the next season.
He knew, we discussed
It was
that.
a 1-year deal.
It was a 1 year,
Well,
yeah.
He knew that we were gonna start this, he wanted to give it a shot, and I don't know if he's gonna come back and, but I'll call him, because we actually have some credits, it's maintenance credits with his company. Because some of that money, you know, some of the money we just got paid, and some of it went into maintenance credits for the contract, so we can do some striping and some parking lot maintenance.
Did he actually make any money on that? Because there was
If
so
he
many
did, it
other
wasn't.
ways.
It wasn't,
It wasn't from, ours was very minimal.
well, he was thinking that we pay parking after 5, and it's not, you know, everywhere. And so, he said it was a learning experience.
Yeah, for all of us.
And if I missed anything on the vouchers, I'm here.
Other than calendar wise, I know we're due for our inventory as a part of the contract of the improvements on the stadium. You know, we kind of once a year, we get that. I feel like their accounting is definitely, you know, better than we do anyone. It might be worth a call to see if he wants to just ship over what he did last year. Their format worked fine.
I need to meet with them anyway, to kind of make sure that they don't need anything.
I just had a reminder that it was time for a yearly.
Jason's birthday too.
Oh, it is. Same happy birthday.
35 years old.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. Anything else, anybody? Okay. Number 20, jail report, we have 528 people in our jail today, 80 of those are female, they're all there. 86% are felons, 9% are misdemeanors. Do we have any insurance on this? Executive session, today, agenda items for next time.
I just don't know where we landed with our firearms discussion last court.
Yeah.
Just if we get questions, I'm not sure where that is at. No, that's public comment.
We're still, Sheriff, and I had a discussion before the meeting started today, we're just halfway. We're still trying to get parties together to discuss, some alternatives. One discussion, that at least tentatively has begun is a discussion of their own regulation of their business hours, which will probably go to what kind of regulation we would implement if we did. So, I'll keep the court updated on that, and when necessary, if we add that to that.
Okay, thank you, and thank you to Captain, I did take a tour of it just to have an appreciation for the proximity of these houses and the range. So we were lucky, we got a great tour out there, but we did get to see how close these houses were, so definitely added to some of the context for the comments we were making.
Okay, all right. There's nothing else beyond adjournment. Thank you very much. Have a happy Thanksgiving.